She thought her story was settled, until one quiet moment changed everything. If you've ever questioned the life you built, this story will stay with you. Watch till the end. And if it touches something in you, don't forget to like and subscribe. While tidying the hallway drawers, I stumbled upon it. A snapshot hidden within the folds of a vintage air conditioner manual. It likely fell into place years back. The edges curled, colors dulled. The woman in the picture, laughing with her head thrown back, shoulders bare beneath a sundress, was undeniably me. Indeed younger, not polished, yet vibrant in a manner I could no longer discern. My husband strolled by, a toolbox in one hand, coffee in the other. He looked past me, a smile dancing on his lips, a mix of warmth and reason. "You were always beautiful," he whispered. "You seem more rooted now." He stepped into the bathroom to repair the faucet, the photo slipping from his mind as swiftly as it had come back. I lingered, gazing at the reflection of a girl who once thought she could attain it all. Bliss, allure, liberty, intent, not the meticulously crafted schedules and complex duties I had come to embrace. Not the quiet, reheated dinners of the night. No gentle kisses on the forehead before sleep. All was well. That's precisely what troubled me. A chime echoed through the air. I lingered in bed. The photo lingered in my hand as I opened the door to him, my husband's closest friend. He smiled, casually, his effortless charm reminiscent of a familiar scent from another life. He visited often. He belonged to our circle, our weekends, our wine nights. Yet recently his presence felt like a taut thread beneath my skin. He entered and looked at my hand. "Path of recollection?" he inquired, gaze flickering to the picture. I nodded, slipping it into my pocket, a surge of protectiveness rising within me. He laughed softly. Back then, laughter filled the air, making focus a distant thought. A joke would have been better, a dismissal. Yet I gazed at him longer than intended, an unvoiced tension lingering in the air. First I turned away. In the kitchen, mugs clinked and the kettle hummed, a familiar symphony. My husband popped in, chatted about the hardware store and ordering new blinds. I nodded at the appropriate times, smiled when necessary. Yet that old photo haunted me, a specter hovering close. After my husband headed to the garage, his friend hung around the window. We lingered in solitude, a heartbeat too long. His presence was palpable, a silent observer, only speaking when it truly counted. "Are you all right?" he finally asked, voice low and cautious. I paused. The kettle sang. "I'm okay, just weary." Yet that was not the case. I felt wide awake. I felt empty, slowly understanding that I hadn't truly slept. I longed for connection, not the usual gestures of a provider, but those that lingered, explored, and anticipated. That night, as we prepared for bed, I mentioned to my husband that the faucet was leaking once more. He scowled, vowing to remedy it by dawn. I nodded and silently slipped into my sleepwear. He touched my shoulder, a familiar move, then switched off the lamp and turned away. In the dark I lay awake, haunted by the gaze of my friend, intrigued, uncertain, a spark of an urge that teetered on the edge of craving. Not a moment, not yet. It was merely the pause before it, yet I sensed a shift in the line. Not crossed, merely drawn. Soft, hushed, unchangeable. I felt no guilt. I felt alert. On a Tuesday, a day so ordinary it might have slipped away unnoticed, if not for its unexpected turn. My husband departed early that morning, bound for Dallas for a 3-day meeting with his business partners. He brushed my cheek with a kiss, whispered a reminder about the patio door, and vanished before I could respond. I floated through the morning's tasks, washing messages, tasks. Not a single one demanding. All focused. The house was unnervingly quiet, as if it had sighed and chosen not to breathe once more. Every sound, every creak of the wood floors, every rustle of trees outside the window felt amplified in his absence. Yet loneliness eluded me. I felt weightless. As afternoon waned, I lit a candle in the kitchen, the aroma of cinnamon and orange blending with the soft hum of the dishwasher. I wore what I wanted for me alone, not on purpose. Yet I donned a cozy sweater that embraced my curves and jeans that shaped my waist, simply to feel a bit more seen. Beneath them, I donned the satin lingerie I had impulsively ordered 2 weeks prior, never finding a reason to try it on. It resembled dark wine, fragile yet boldly intimate. I never thought anyone would notice. A hidden part of me, long silent, craved the silk's caress against my skin as I wandered the house, just for me, simply to experience a sensation. A knock at the door broke the silence, nearly 7 o'clock. No doorbell, no prior phone call, a mere knock. Dim, ambiguous. I already knew who it was. He lingered in a light coat, clutching a bottle of wine. As I drove through the neighborhood, I decided to drop off the book I had borrowed. If now is an ideal I can... All good. I spoke too fast, already moving aside. He carried the subtle scent of rain and leather. His hands, dry and warm, passed the book to me. I forgot I lent it to him. We gathered in the kitchen once more, as we had countless times, yet the atmosphere shifted. Denser, more deliberate. The wine flowed, pooling darkly in our glasses. He reclined in his chair, observing me with a quiet intensity that began to unsettle me. Or awaken me, perhaps both. Initially, our conversation drifted through the void. Conditions outside. A fresh eatery has opened its doors in the neighborhood. A podcast he believed would interest me. Yet those words now bore a newfound weight. They lingered, suspended like threads poised for a tug. His hand brushed against mine as he grabbed his glass, a fleeting touch. Yet my skin ignited. It lacked drama. Yet it was genuine, so vivid I had to clutch the table's edge to hide the shiver coursing through me. Silence descended. Not the type that seeks a reply, but the one that recognizes a change has occurred. Unchangeably. You've changed, he finally said. I didn't inquire about his meaning. I was aware. I rose to stow the wine bottle, seeking movement, the floor beneath my feet, a break from his stare. Yet as I glanced back, he stood there already, nearer than ever. He remained silent. He approached without confidence or pretense. He lingered. Until I remained still. He moved closer. There was no rush, only a quiet certainty in his gaze. The space between us dissolved. His hand lingered softly on my waist, a mere touch, not a pull. As if that was nearly overwhelming, my lips opened without thought. Not from shock, but from the heavy longing that had silently built up between us for weeks. I returned the kiss. No thought lingered. Access denied. Only the gentle touch of lips, the aroma of his exhale. The pulse in my throat bloomed. A warning bell I ignored. The distance between us echoed more than ever. I should go, he murmured, uncertainty lacing his tone. I nodded, silence enveloping me. I lingered in the kitchen, alone. For what felt like an eternity after he departed, the sweater retained a whisper of his warmth. My hands seemed foreign, as if they were not my own. I strolled to the bathroom and gazed at my reflection in the mirror, neither guilt nor shame, to check if I still knew the woman staring back. She remained unfazed. She felt no regret. She seemed vibrant. Sleep eluded me that night. A sleepless night, the ceiling above, his lips haunting my memory. Again and again. Free from remorse. Yet I craved to experience it once more. Yearned for it. In a manner that stirred my soul. When my husband called the next morning to check on things at home, I replied calmly. I inquired about his flight. The meeting of his. They're in. The patio door is locked, I mentioned. I kept to myself the memory of another's gentle touch on my waist, as if it held significance. What's the worst part? It happened. Slowly, I moved the morning after, intentionally. Not from fatigue but from a sense of change in the air. My body felt burdened, each movement a struggle, as though a change had occurred deep within. The floor was swept. Folded laundry. I replied to 2 work emails and discarded 5. The washing machine's rinse and spin echoed through the house, the loudest sound around. The silence hung heavy, more profound than ever, as if it had been anticipating. I sought stability in routine. It's my constant. As feelings surged, I grasped for control. Yet, the essence of that order was shaken. No matter how perfectly I folded towels or aligned plates in the dishwasher, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had stirred within me. It was not going to fade away silently. This feeling caught me off guard. I never intended to be free, yet my skin could not forget him. The kiss, yes, but more so the closeness. Consciousness of visibility and sensation, my husband remained absent. Just 2 days left in Dallas, and that distance loomed larger than before. It was a presence felt in absence. Even at home, his presence felt distant. The message arrived straightforward. I believe I forgot my jacket. Is it cool if I drop by later? Nothing remained. I recalled him donning it as he departed. Yet I grasped his intentions. A choice was offered to me by him. A cause for affirmation. A method to reduce this to something minor, courteous, unquestionable. I lingered over the message before replying. Absolutely. Drop in. I took my time to prepare. I left my hair and clothes as they were. I remained in my outfit. Dark jeans, soft gray top, a low-hanging delicate necklace, something I hadn't worn in years. I had donned the same lingerie beneath. The rich burgundy hue lingered in my mind, as if whispered in shadows. I wasn't dressing to entice. I dressed to embrace my own awareness. Each step, each motion a subtle echo. You're still here. He showed up shortly after 6, clutching a bottle of cider this time. Definitely not wine. Relaxed, as if pals are dropping in post-work. I opened the door. Our eyes lingered too long. Is this all right? He inquired, raising the bottle a fraction. I acknowledged. You're ahead of schedule. I aimed to avoid any awkwardness. It was already. Yet not as one might dread. It flowed effortlessly. It was heavy with another presence. Acknowledgement. Pause, yearning without a destination. We stayed away from the kitchen. We lingered in the hallway by the mirror, where coats, keys, and umbrellas resided in their familiar spots, where normalcy reigned. On the surface, at least. Spoke with him today. He glanced at the window, blinds drawn tight. He requested a check-in. He claimed to trust me completely. I sensed it. A stone plummeting into water. The irony weighed down, almost suffocating. Faith, neither of us missed it. I rested against the wall, arms folded. Not in defense, but to maintain my composure. His gaze lingered, searching for secrets hidden in my eyes. Do you wish you hadn't? He inquired cautiously. I hesitated to respond. The silence in my house lingered in my thoughts. Last night I slept alone in my bed. Yet for the first time loneliness eluded me. I felt complete, not with joy or certainty, but with a long-lost essence. Consciousness of my physical self. My breath, my own desire. Negative. I spoke, gentle yet distinct. He averted his eyes, not out of shame, but from a deeper comprehension. He felt no pride. He lacked enthusiasm. He existed, nothing more. Show up like few ever do. He kept his distance. Not that evening. The distance between us shifted once more. Focused. No more errors were made. We simply stood still. Two souls in a foreign home, sensing a bond beyond language. He departed, leaving the jacket behind. Once the door shut, I lingered, hearing the wind batter the windows. I climbed the stairs, perched on my bed's edge, and took off the necklace. My fingers hesitated at the clasp. Considered giving him a ring. Not my spouse, another version of him. Yet I did not. I wasn't ready to fill the silence with words just yet. The stillness spoke volumes. I approached the mirror, raised my shirt's hem, and admired the gentle curves of my waist, the lace on my hips, and the lingering blush on my chest. And I understood. The end was not yet. It was yet to begin. The next week faded into a haze. No drama unfolded. No moments were stolen. Silence after dark. No lingering looks shared in public spaces. His absence lingered in my body, a persistent residue. His presence lingered in the oddest times. The chill of the fridge's breath brushed against my skin. The subtle shift of my sweater across my shoulder blades. Breath caught in my throat, unbidden. A reminder of him lurking in the shadows of my mind. It was not obsession. It was existence. As if a piece of him had woven itself into my being, silently, persistently, and declined to depart. My husband came back on Friday, behind schedule. He carried the scent of hotel sheets and the stale air of airports. He kissed me swiftly, dropped his overnight bag, and launched into a discussion about a potential investment deal that left him both hopeful and restless. I lingered in the kitchen, nodding at the right moments, posing the perfect follow-up questions, and pouring him a drink. He never inquired about my week. He didn't. It wasn't abandonment. It was routine. I occupied the void of his existence like one organizes a shelf, functional, unseen, anticipated to provide value quietly. Dinner was had. We caught a show. We hit the hay. His form leaned into me, shadows enveloping us. He pressed his lips to my shoulder, murmured his longing, and slipped his hand beneath my shirt. I let him go. I allowed his hand to graze my skin. Yet I sensed it. My body's silence spoke volumes, not for lack of care but due to an emptiness within me at that moment. A subtle no, quietly unseen, yet strong enough to sever feeling from significance. Early the next morning, I rose and took a walk before dawn. Silence lingered in the deserted streets. The light remained gentle, my coat draped over a delicate slip, boots softly tapping on the pavement. I wandered aimlessly, simply passed it along, simply gone. That's when I spotted him. Totally spontaneous. He stood outside the cafe by the park, coffee in hand, chatting with an unfamiliar figure. Our gazes locked and his words faded away. His expression changed, neither surprised nor guilty, but to a stillness, acknowledgement. I kept going. I continued my stride. He granted me passage. Yet, just 10 minutes later, footsteps echoed behind me. Known, leisurely. I didn't expect to see you, he said softly. No reply came. Up with the dawn, I see. Sleep eluded me. We walked together, side by side, silent and distant, two souls in a silence thicker than words. Leaves carpeted the park's path. A city worker nearby blew debris into tidy piles. He paused, then spoke. I've been thinking. Concerning the previous week. Concerning its significance. I persist in telling myself it meant nothing. I paused. So did he. The quiet hung fragile as ice beneath pressure. Was it all for naught? I inquired, reflecting rather than blaming. His gaze met mine, and in that instant the burden in his eyes was clear, not from shame but from understanding. He shook his head, dismissing the thought. Leisurely, intentional, negative. He spoke. We remained apart. No kiss occurred. The park wasn't meant for that. It felt excessively exposed. Excessively exposed. Yet the distance between us crackled once more. Not with newness but with recollection. A tide of fate flows underneath. Upon my return, my husband remained in slumber. His hand lay across my side of the bed, palm up as if beckoning mine back. I lingered in the doorway, observing his breath. I pondered the faith behind that gesture. The expanse. He was blissfully unaware of the changes lurking within his own home. Not a dramatic betrayal. Not a scandal marked by lipstick stains or cryptic messages. Yet a drift. A gradual, inescapable shift in gravity. We lunched with friends that afternoon. He chuckled effortlessly, grasping my hand as the talk grew tender. We must have appeared as a perfect couple to them. Resolved, safe. I smiled at the right moment. I handed over the wine. I inquired with their daughter regarding college applications. Yet within I found myself in the park, his voice echoing. Negative. Later that night, after the last guest departed and the dishes were stowed, my husband poured another drink, lingering in the kitchen doorway. You've been silent these days, he remarked. All good. I hesitated. My hand lingers in the dishwater. Wrinkled raw fingers. Indeed I did. So much to think about. He acknowledged with a nod. Sipped. Departed. It was the truth. Yet it wasn't the truth either. What I couldn't express, what I hadn't learned to articulate, was that something had started. Just a fleeting moment. No choice at all. A change. Irreversible. Despite my efforts to revert to my former self, the sensation of being truly seen lingered unshakable, to be desired not from routine, but from acknowledgement. Not for reliability but for authenticity. I realized this was just the beginning. It was never meant to be just a weekend getaway. Not for me at least. Weeks earlier, the invitation arrived, hidden among the chaos of our shared calendar. A printed schedule my husband clung to, taped to the fridge despite the digital age. a conference for business in Santa Barbara. He spoke at a Saturday panel, networked over dinner, and then spent the rest of the time at the hotel bar with his usual circle of industry veterans. I was meant to be by his side as always. Polished, elegant, quiet where it counts. I never declined. I said nothing, I just packed. On a Friday evening we entered the hotel, the ocean wind swirling around us. We were treated to complimentary champagne by the concierge. My husband flirted casually with the hostess, flashing that charming, smooth smile he always wore. Just enough to linger in memory, always lacking in appropriateness. I observed everything from a slight distance. Unseen yet accurate. The suite was tidy yet unremarkable, a beige opulence that whispers affluence, yet lacks creativity. I unpacked as he took a call, organizing his shirts and ties meticulously, as if this order could tame my chaotic mind. I draped my dress over the chair, ready for tomorrow's dinner. It was a daring dark green, low-cut at the back, bolder than my usual style. Underneath, nestled in tissue at the bottom of my case, lay the new lingerie he had gifted me just 2 days prior. He set the box on our bed, a surprise waiting. No event. Skipped the introduction. Caught my eye in the window and you came to mind. He spoke. Got it. Perhaps you'd don it for the journey. I smiled and kissed his cheek. I never mentioned that I had already worn it. I had tried it on alone, standing before the mirror, thoughts not of him, but of another man's hands gliding over the lace on my skin. I never revealed that it wasn't for him. Saturday unfolded with courteous exchanges. I joined him for lunch, nodded during introductions, and shook hands with names that slipped my mind instantly. I smiled excessively. My face throbbed from the strain. He appeared happy to have me by his side, stylish companion with eloquence. He never inquired about my boredom. He never inquired about my thoughts on any of it. I took my leave in the afternoon. I craved breath, I declared. A stroll, time to reset. He accepted my silence. He seldom did. Descending the elevator, I was alone. No destination in sight. My feet acted before my thoughts. I walked by the pool, the spa, the patio. I traversed the lobby, where lofty ceilings resonated with the gentle jazz from concealed speakers. Then I spotted him. He sat by the window, solitary, a half-drunk coffee before him. His gaze met mine the moment I stepped in, recognition flashing bright and clear. He rose, a reflex, as if it were choreographed, though it wasn't. I spoke before realizing you were here. In a client meeting, he spoke. Surprised to run into you too. In the lobby we lingered, lost in uncertainty. Stroll? I inquired. He nodded, standing up. We shifted in unison, words unnecessary. Steps down, courtyard crossed, to the garden's edge where palms swayed softly and the distant sea beckoned. I never inquired about his true purpose for being there. I was indifferent to whether it was mere chance or destiny. It was inconsequential. The electric stillness between us was what truly mattered. Each glance, each breath, heavy with unspoken words. I paused under a low tree, its shade refreshing on my skin. I wore it, I whispered. His gaze met mine, bewildered. The lingerie, I explained almost inaudibly. He gasped. I witnessed it. Acknowledgement. Uncertainty lingers. Then something profound. Not craving. Not victory. Yet it felt akin to pain. A surprising tenderness. Don't say that to me, he replied. I'm aware. Our lips didn't meet immediately. Unexpected twists await. It was not a heated clash. Not the frantic reach of two souls defying time. It dragged on, catastrophic. A query whispered through a gentle touch of lips. A moment of stillness, then another until the pain eclipsed control. His hand grazed the small of my back. My body curved toward him, intuitive. He was a blend of coffee and an unnamed promise. Everything unfolded slowly, no theft occurred. Two souls at last, crossing the threshold of unspoken desires, 100 silent attempts behind them. We separated in silence. We lingered in the shade, our breaths unsteady. The ocean lurks behind, the hotel looms near. Later that night, in our room, I took my time getting dressed. My husband came back from dinner early. He inquired about my interest in wine. I acknowledged with a nod. The dress was worn by me. The emerald hue. He whistled softly as I emerged from the bathroom, calling me stunning. With a smile I fixed my earring. He was unaware that the silk-concealed lingerie meant for someone else. He was unaware of how my skin still vibrated from a kiss I shouldn't have experienced. His hand found my waist as we stepped outside, lingering where another had been just hours before. All I could think was the warmth of his touch once felt. How excruciatingly cold it had turned. Home again, silence surged back fiercely. This time it failed to soothe me. Choked, the journey had altered something irreversibly. It was more than just the kiss. It encompassed all that was around it. Pressure mounts. Consciousness. The exhilaration of being recognized not as someone else's shadow, but as a woman whose desire remains, merely muted for too long. I carried it all back with me. It trailed me through the rites of marriage, washing cycles, preparing dinner, planning the weekend, as if those rituals could still hold the me that is now. My husband returned from the trip feeling lighter. He thought maybe the weekend had done some good. The green dress, my hand on his arm at dinner, my eagerness to travel once more, these hinted at a revival. He began rising early, preparing breakfast. He proposed a quick getaway to the coast next month, only we remain. He attempted to show tenderness once more. Soft touches at the rear, gentle pecks at dawn, just before he steps into the shower. He once slipped a note by my coffee cup. "You looked radiant this weekend." I gazed at the word radiant for a long moment. I couldn't see myself in it. Perhaps I failed to see his interpretation of it. The issue lay not in my lack of care for him. I felt lost in his touch, disconnected from myself. His rhythm suffocated me. His love stemmed from a sense of ease, by routine. I had escaped the grip of routine. I drifted in a space of remorse and realization, in the space where memory meets desire. Can't completely revert to the person he still envisioned. I made an effort, in the name of fairness. One night I allowed him to undress me. He lit candles in the bedroom, hoping to ignite a spark between us, and I lay there, his hands tracing my skin like a well-known map. Yet, all I sensed was the void of that previous fire. The heartbeat of the unforeseen. His touch felt secure. It failed to stir me. It failed to take my breath away. It erased my presence. Curled up by the window, I stared out, feeling more alone in love's presence than I ever did without it. No tears fell. I curled in tight, attuned to his breath as he slipped into slumber serene. In the ensuing days, I grew increasingly intentional. My clothing selection is deliberate, not for allure, but to maintain a sense of consciousness. My lingerie drawer, once a tomb of neglected silk and lace, found new life. I donned fragrance indoors. I began styling my hair differently and applying lipstick. Even without a destination, I convinced myself it was about rediscovering who I truly am. Yet I understood my true intentions. Waiting. Just waiting. Not currently engaged. Not out of despair. Yet, just as the body anticipates a shift in the weather, feeling it in the atmosphere. Illuminated. Before the storm, a subtle temperature shift lingers unseen. It had been silent since Santa Barbara. No word at all. No glance at all. Yet, his presence lingered all around me. Upon reflection, wearing my selected attire, my fingers lingered over the coffee cups, recalling how he took his black, no sugar. One afternoon, I entered the kitchen to see my husband unloading groceries. He raised a bottle of white wine, a brand I once cherished but had long since overlooked. He believed it could pair nicely with fish for dinner. I expressed my gratitude, smiled, and placed it in the fridge. Then I asked almost instinctively, "Do you think we've changed?" He glanced upward, astonished. "In what way has it transformed?" "Simply transformed." He approached, rested against the counter, and tilted his head just so. "We've evolved." "Resolved." "Is that not typical?" "Ordinary." I nodded, then faced the fridge again. That word coiled around my chest like a band. Resolved, as though love's ultimate aim were stillness, not spark. Alone in bed, I listened to him work in his home office that night. The ceiling fan whirled softly, its rhythm captivating my gaze. My body lay motionless. My thoughts were absent. The hotel garden lingered in my thoughts. The warmth of a hand rests gently on my back's curve. The sound of my name restrained rather than routine. I pondered how desire didn't solve anything, yet it echoed my ability to be desired. How profoundly I craved that reminder. I didn't contact him. No message was sent, nor was there a reason to pass by his building. I lingered silently, in the soft buzz of this unfamiliar space. As my marriage chugged along unwavering and unquestioned, my heart began to drift toward an uninvited longing, and I sensed in some way this would linger. The fracture had just begun, and soon the quiet would begin to shatter. On the morning of their departure to the lake, I rose with the sun. The cool air lingered from night, the sky a soft pale, morning's hush unbroken by the day's demands. In silence I brewed coffee, attuned to the rustle of bags, the clink of car keys, and the scrape of boots on the mat. My husband felt thrilled, not with enthusiasm. He seldom displayed feelings like that. Yet, in his streamlined, effective way, he adored the lake house. He cherished its simplicity, a tidy framework for scheduled relaxation. It brought back memories of his former self, before the spreadsheets, the deadlines, and the endless hotel ballroom dinners. He accompanied him. My husband suggested inviting his friend. A weekend for the boys, he dubbed it. Back to familiar beats, angling, cigars, whiskey under the stars. He claimed it would benefit them both. Time to unwind, the house empty, perhaps diving into a book or finally checking out that art exhibit I talked about weeks back. Silently, I loaded the final bag into the car's trunk. A smile crept across my face. I pressed my lips to his cheek. I gestured from the porch. I waved at him. His friend sat silently in the passenger seat, evading my gaze. I waved until the car vanished, then closed the door with a practiced hush. The silence inside had changed. It sat still, devoid of anticipation. It weighed heavily. The burden of emptiness didn't stem from my husband. It came from the one who occupied my mind, now sitting beside him for hours, close enough to touch, yet silent. A man who, much like myself, now inhabited two lives within his own skin. I drifted through the house that morning, lost in thought. The laundry lay untouched. The bed lay untouched. A single buzz from my phone. Sister inquiring about next weekend's dinner. Yet I remained silent. Barefoot, I crossed the floor to the kitchen, poured another cup of coffee, and leaned against the counter, nightgown on, hair unbrushed. The window's reflection caught me off guard. I appeared disheveled, not in a theatrical manner. All intact, all pristine. Yet, a hollowness lingered in the way my arms dangled, in the looseness of my stance. I appeared as if my heartbeat had faded. I attempted to read. I picked up a long-awaited book, flipped through 2 pages, then set it aside. I considered calling a friend, grabbing lunch, or strolling downtown. Yet it all seemed like a show, a way to mask the words I couldn't voice. He was absent from my thoughts, not my spouse. Far from the ease of my past existence. I longed for the man who had gazed at me, recognizing a hunger I had yet to confront within myself. The absence of friction lingered, a delicate balance of control. Those fleeting moments before and after touch when breath faltered and the universe shrank to the gap between skin and memory. In the afternoon, I retrieved the lingerie from the drawer, cradling it in my hands. The fabric felt lighter, almost as if it had merged with my being. I left it off. I lingered, fingers tracing the delicate lace. I folded it carefully and tucked it away, as if safeguarding something holy. Time crawled. I uncorked the wine too soon. On the back porch, I felt the sun warm my skin through my shirt. I recalled the way he had gazed at me the last time we were by ourselves. He pondered the stillness of his hands, how he restrained himself with greater intensity than most men exert in chase. The sun sank. Shadows deepened in the house. I left the lights off. Compelled by an invisible force, I grasped my phone. I typed the message with deliberate slowness, pausing after every word. No more pretense. No thanks. My finger lingered above the screen, suspended in time. I overlooked the repercussions. I never foresaw what was to come. No follow-up message to cushion the impact. Sent. The reply arrived quicker than I anticipated. Finally, you said it. The phone slipped from my grasp, landing softly on the couch as I gazed into the dimming dusk. My body buzzed, not with thrill but with conviction. No plan, no escape, no grand gestures. Only truth, raw and irrevocable. The stillness in the home shifted. It felt light now. It brimmed. In bed, I envisioned the lake. They sat together in the boat, silent, chuckling over familiar jokes. I pondered whether he had taken a moment to text me, if he had gazed at the same sky, aware that on the other end of the signal I lay here, heart exposed, no longer masking the truth. In that stillness, a chilling clarity dawned upon me. This transcended lust, defied rebellion. It was about embracing a self I had long denied. I wouldn't allow her to vanish once more. I stayed put, not as one might anticipate when tales like this unfold. No hurried suitcase, no dramatic dawn departure. Yet, a shift within me had already occurred. I realized, silently or not, that I could never return to my former self. After sending the message and getting his reply, I lingered in the silence. No reply came, no meeting was planned, no time or place suggested. I allowed the truth to seep into me, like ink dispersing in water, gradually coloring all it encountered. The walls of my home, the silent compartments of our life together. The grin I wear when encountering neighbors or sharing small talk at the market. What I expressed turned into a show, yet I felt an unprecedented honesty. The morning after they came back, my husband entered with the familiar old duffel bag and the scent of lake air clinging to his jacket. Sunburned and at ease, his voice carried a buoyancy, a trace of brotherhood and triumph from their escape. That evening he spoke more than usual, sharing tales from the trip and familiar jokes. He poured wine and grilled steaks on the back patio, as if it marked the dawn of something fresh. I heard. I acknowledged. I smiled at the right moments. I gazed at him like one views a far-off city from above, aware of its contours, its known forms, yet detached from the ground below. I saw the gray creeping in at his temples, the lines around his eyes deepening with every laugh. I recalled the ease of tracing those lines. Now imagining my fingers stretching toward him feels like a distant dream. That night, his hand on my back in bed felt inevitable. Warm hand, steady breath. He pressed his lips to my shoulder, whispering softly, his voice a gentle caress. I faced him, and for an instant I surrendered. I surrendered to his kiss, his lips exploring the curve of my throat. The feeling was dulled. My body moved with the precision of habit, devoid of longing. Only echoes remained, shadows of a past life. I eased back, murmuring my fatigue. He took it without hesitation, turned away, drifted off while I remained awake, eyes open, sensing how my skin reacted to his touch, not with denial but with acknowledgement. Understanding that it was no longer his to possess, that the part of me which once sought him instinctively had changed its loyalty. In the days that followed, my habits shifted. I kept my destination a secret from him when I left the house. He remained silent. I dedicated my mornings to preparation, not for looks or others but for clarity. I craved clarity, authenticity, purpose. I started wandering longer paths through town, past familiar spots from before marriage, before routine etched its unyielding course. I wandered through stores, fingers grazing fabrics of unworn dresses, inhaled scents of forgotten perfumes, scribbled lists in notebooks, knowing I'd never finish them. All that mattered was the emotion. One afternoon I faced my closet, fingers gliding over a decade's worth of clothes. Neutral hues, functional designs, avoiding extremes. I went to the back to grab the green dress from Santa Barbara. I removed it and placed it on the bed. Slowly I undressed, slipped back in, bare feet on hardwood, the zipper whispering up my back a promise. I gazed into the mirror, examining the woman I had become. She was careful. She lacked cruelty. She defied temptation, transcending the clichés of midlife unrest. After years of silence, her heart finally found its voice once more. The phone vibrated, a single name appeared, his. May I meet you? I delayed my response. I studied my reflection, noting how the fabric sculpted my spine, the curve of my waist, the gentle tension in my shoulders. I pondered the risk, the aftermath, the guilt that had morphed into something intricate. I answered, not tonight but soon. No fire coursed through me, no wild rush of adrenaline, just the calm pulse of fate, not from a desire to be desired, but from a need to be authentic. At breakfast the next morning, I faced my husband. He scanned the paper, offered thoughts on the stock market. I swirled my coffee, cream vanishing into the depths of brown. He glanced up, caught my gaze. "Are you all right?" he inquired. I acknowledged. Affirmative. In that instant, the truth dawned on me. I wasn't okay as he thought. Not in the sense that everything was fine and would remain unchanged. Yet I was fine in my own unique manner. I was transforming into someone who could no longer tolerate the facade of peace. I was uncertain of the outcome. The form eluded me still. Yet I realized I would no longer wait. I was in motion, and soon I would decide where. Silence reigned. No words, no bags, no drama, just stillness. It unfolded differently than in tales or movies. The subtle decay of illusion arrived instead, a gradual unraveling stitch by stitch. That morning I chose to speak. The house held its breath. The sky loomed flat and gray, offering no demands. I navigated the kitchen as usual, brewed coffee, cut fruit, and wiped the already clean counters. I felt no fear. That moment was gone. The fear transformed into a heavier burden. Assuredness. He descended quietly, fully dressed, scrolling through news on his phone. He pressed his lips to my temple, grabbed his coffee, settled in, and started reading an article on the housing market aloud. His voice, calm and assured, belonged to a man confident in the integrity of his life. I allowed him to complete. I allowed him to sip his drink and fold the paper precisely so. So I spoke it. Not everything together, not with harshness. I expressed it as casually as one might talk about the weather. Calm, bold, lucid. I've transformed. I'm done with this house. His gaze lingered on me. The paper drifted down, heavy with the gravity of my words, shock settling in. His face remained calm. His voice remained steady. He stared, blinking, as if my words hadn't registered. Yet he did. He got it. What occurred? He finally asked, his voice dry, nearly brittle. I might have deceived. I might have claimed ignorance, expressed my confusion, insisted it wasn't about others. He was entitled to the truth. Incomplete anatomy. Not labels. Not evenings. Not memories etched in time. Yet, the reality of what had perished between us. I feel lost here, I said. It's been ages. He nodded, placing the coffee cup down with care. His jaw clenched, a truth he refused to mask. Yet here we are. Calmness prevails. No begging. He glanced away briefly, then returned his gaze. Is there another? I paused. In that silence, all was revealed. He gazed at the table, breathed out softly, deep and still. I observed the understanding wash over him. Not a wound, but a chill creeping into the marrow. An inevitable shift beyond his control, despite any effort he could muster. He skipped the details. He remained silent. He nodded once more, rose, and exited the kitchen. I remained in my place. The stillness that followed was more profound than any that had preceded it. Lightweight. Dull. Only final. That afternoon I left everything behind. I took my time before calling him. The man who occupied my thoughts endlessly. I approached him not as a sanctuary or a prize. I remained indoors. I opened the windows. I wandered through each room, brushing against familiar objects as if they were remnants of a past self. The air had a distinct freshness. Perhaps it was my fault. As night fell, I took a shower. I selected my attire with precision. Simple, discreet, a gentle dress flowing at the shoulders, effortless to wear. A touch of perfume, not for allure, but to capture the moment. I refrained from texting him. I drove on. City lights blurred past the windshield. Each turn was intentional. Every red light a chance to pause. I parked a couple of blocks off and walked the rest. Heels clicked gently on the pavement, the night enveloping me effortlessly. He opened the door, his expression unchanged. He remained expressionless. He moved aside and I walked in. Silence enveloped the apartment. Gloomy and quiet, silence reigns. Unscripted ambience. Only we. In the room's heart I lingered, eyes slowly adapting. The air between us was dense. Not with tension but with fate. He stayed away. He lingered. I told him I did. He acknowledged. We approached slowly. No dramatic collisions unfolded. Unlike the scenes of a melodrama, we advanced with caution, as if aware of the burden we bore. When our hands touched, it lacked fervor. It was acknowledgement. The pain lingers, concerning the risk. A peculiar, silent relief washed over us as we finally confronted what had tormented us for months. I barely slept that night, not from nerves or doubt, but my body demanded every moment of stillness. In hushed breaths shared with one who had long dwelled in tension and denial, the ceiling loomed above, the night whispered its rhythm through the window, and an unfamiliar sensation stirred within me, tranquility. I departed at dawn's first light. No note was left. I never promised to return. Yet I was certain I would. Not due to finding a substitute for what I abandoned, yet I had discovered my true self. She would never disappear again.